Lewis, as you know, thank you for joining me today, by the way. Anytime we talk about circumcision, people flip out. It was no exception when we did a story a little while back about the Canadian Pediatric Society, which put out a statement agreeing that circumcision benefits outweigh the risks, but restating their position that it be left up to the parents to decide whether to circumcise their male babies or not. Tons of feedback and anger and criticism of us as if we had sort of invented the data and the statement from the Canadian Pediatric Society. Of course, we were just the messengers there. The Canadian Pediatric Society has now updated their position, which is something that anti-circumcision activists have been calling for a while. But I don't think they're going to be too happy with the update, because the Canadian Pediatric Society has found that the benefits are even greater than they had previously stated, but their position on recommendation has been the same since 1996, which is not to give a general recommendation that all male newborns be circumcised, sort of like the recommendation with vaccinations, for example, maintaining that it is a decision to be made by the parents after weighing the risks and rewards. So, as far as the benefits, they now include, according to this updated statement from the Canadian Pediatric Society, this is not my statement, this is not producer Lewis's statement, this is not the Eggman or the Kansas Troll statement or anybody else's statement, this is the Canadian Pediatric Society. Dr. Joan Robinson said, the main thing that has changed between now and then is that there is convincing evidence that circumcision can actually prevent HIV. This is a new benefit being claimed by the Canadian Pediatric Society with regard to male newborn circumcision. Further, they say, removal of the foreskin can also reduce the incidence of urinary tract infections in young boys, prevent sexually transmitted pathogens like the herpes simplex virus and the human papillomavirus, also known as HPV, in older boys and adult males, while protecting against penile cancer. So what is the real change here, Lewis? This sums it up. Quote, we're simply saying that for parents who are, for whatever reasons, keen on having their son circumcised, there is now a little more evidence than there used to be about potential benefits, but that it is ultimately still a parent decision. They do recommend, if you are going to circumcise, do it within the first week of life to reduce the possibility of complications, infection, bleeding, etc. Lewis, this is, of course, just the tip of the debate, I think it's fair to say. People will definitely still flip out.
We are going to get a torrent of emails and voicemails about this. We always do. This is basically the same thing we said last time. I believe it was the American Pediatric Society that we discussed last time. And this seems to be the trend. It's headed in this direction, and it's becoming more acceptable, and the evidence seems to suggest that the benefits outweigh the risks.
At the same time, though, we are seeing a move against circumcision. In other words, we're seeing medical reports suggest that indeed the benefits outweigh the risks, while at the same time, we are seeing an effective anti-circumcision movement that reduce the rate of circumcision.
That is true. So what is our stance on this? That this is still something that the parents should decide, and that it should not be banned, and that do we leave it there?
Yeah, I am no huge proactive circumcision advocate, the way I advocate for vaccines. I turn to the experts. I am not an expert, and the medical communities of both the United States and Canada believe that the benefits outweigh the risks, but that it is not like vaccines where you must have a circumcision the way you really should have vaccines. I do take issue with one argument by anti-circumcision activists, which is, listen, the baby doesn't get to choose, and once you circumcise, the effects are irreversible. That's not a good argument for me, because babies don't get to choose whether they're vaccinated, and the effects of being vaccinated for those early years are not reversible. But most people, other than the anti-vaccine crowd, are not complaining about vaccines based on that line of reasoning. So for me, that's not a good anti-circumcision argument.
Yeah, well, yeah, babies don't get to choose anything. But anyway, I guess our stance on it is just that the parents should be able to choose. And okay, open up the floodgates now, Dave. Here it comes.